Chapter 5, A Lucky Hit. After our little, well, let's just call it an accident, we packed up and set out onto the open sea, leaving the island behind. Sway sailed along as we rode on its back, and all things considered, we were making good progress. Sure, we had to deal with another Cetus attack, but we'd seen those before and they weren't as shocking the second time. The members of Ark had more or less torn them to pieces, with Sway gathering up all the drops that fell into the sea at my request. The encounter was a reassuring reminder that Ark really was an A-ranked party, when all was said and done. That said, the Cetuses had dropped a ton of hides, and apparently Feodora's item box had finally been filled to capacity as a result. Ark's members had come to the conclusion that, unfortunately, their only choice was to leave some of the loot behind, but I offered to carry it in my item box instead before they could throw the extras out. We were exploring this dungeon together, so it only seemed fair. And so we pressed on into the deep blue sea. At some point, we passed into a region inhabited by sharks. Big ones too, I'm talking 4 or 5 meters long, and apparently technically classified as monsters circling our party at a distance. They freaked me out at first, but Sway was all too happy to kill its boredom by spearing them with its tentacles, and after I watched a few sharks get jabbed out of existence, they sorta just faded into the background for me. That said, Sway hunting them with brutal efficiency didn't stop the sharks from coming at us one after another, and as a result, I ended up with a big pile of the shark skin and meat that they dropped. The only use for shark skin I could think of offhand was a type of traditional wasabi grater, so I had a feeling it wouldn't have much in the way of utility. I just hoped that the Adventurers Guild would be willing to buy it. As for the meat, I had no idea if my familiars would find it palatable, but I figured that frying it either in large chunks or pasted and formed into balls would make for a snack that would pair fantastically with a nice glass of sake. Anyway, to make a long story short, our journey across the sea that day was looking to be nice and peaceful. I mean, as peaceful as things can be when you've got 5-meter-long sharks constantly surrounding you. Oh, the sharks are all gone, I noted. Yeah. They all went away, Sway confirmed. Heh. And so, it will soon be my moment. I believe you mean our moment, Fel. Fel and Gan were in high spirits, and I had a bad feeling about what that meant. Hey, what are you two talking about? What's coming at us next? I asked. A sea serpent. Bad feeling, justified. Wait, a sea serpent. I want in on this. Dora-chan chimed in. Sway too. Sway exclaimed. The word sea serpent were all it took to instantly capture the attention of the other half of my familiar squad. Seriously, guys, who perks up at the news that an S-ranked sea monster is coming their way? Pretty sure that's just you. Ha ha ha. It comes, Fel said, barely an instant before the sea serpent burst from the ocean with a mighty splash. It lifted its long, snake-like body into the air, mouth wide open and fangs bared. It definitely wanted to eat us. What, already? Somebody deal with that thing, I yelped. Do not shout in my ear. Fel swung his foreleg with a grunt, unleashing his trademark rending claws attack. It tore through the air with a sharp whistling noise, slicing the sea serpent cleanly in half. Ah, no fair, Uncle Fel. You beat up the baddie before Sway could try again, Sway complained. Yeah, what Sway said. For crying out loud, Fel, can't you hold yourself back for a frigging second at least? Dora-chan huffed. There is no cause for concern, Fel said. True indeed. Gan agreed with a nod. After all, there are droves of sea serpents inhabiting these waters. Wait. What? I'd love to pretend I didn't hear that, but unfortunately, I don't think that's an option here. I'm sorry, Gan, but did you just say there are droves of sea serpents out there? What exactly did you mean by that? Gun cocked his head. I'm afraid I don't understand, my liege. Was there more than one way to interpret my words? Okay, so you really do mean there are, like, a bunch of other sea serpents nearby? Yes. Like the one Fel just killed? Precisely. Gah. Why, you could have said something. The members of Ark, by the way, were standing just to the side of this whole conversation and seemed to have been struck dumb by Gen's little reveal. There, see! Here they come now! Splash, 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 splash. Ah, it's true. 6 massive sea serpents had shot up from the water, one after another, spraying us with surf and entirely surrounding us. 6 of them, is it? Perfect. We shall each have our own target. Indeed we shall. Hell yeah, let's do it. Yay. Wait. There's 6 of them and 4 of you. What about the last 2? I protested. The lot of you are more than capable of handling them. In fact, your level has risen to the point that you could defeat them on your own with little trouble, Fell said, making it sound like he was stating the obvious. Me? On my own? Oh, hell no. Nope. How am I supposed to take on monsters like that? And what kind of monster are you to even suggest it? The others seem willing enough to make an attempt. Heh. I looked over to the side and found the members of ARC armed and waiting, their expressions grave. Gee guys. What? No, I mean, seriously? If things keep going at the rate they have been, we'll get to the bottom of this dungeon without ever proving that we can carry our weight. It's time for us to take a stand, Gadino said as he shot a glance at Fell and Gun. Exactly, Gideon agreed with a nod, confidently brandishing his prized spear. This is our moment. Do or die. We'll be helping ourselves to the glory of having slain a sea serpent, not to mention the fortune's worth of spoils it leaves behind, Sigvard said with a hearty laugh. I'll bring something delicious back to my grandchild for us to eat together, Theodora said. Even she seemed fired up this time. Oh, God, they're serious. Oh, no, this cannot be happening right now. Well said indeed. You ought to learn from their example and make at least a slight effort yourself, Fell said, aiming a disdainful glance in my direction. What? A slight effort? This is a little more than slight, if you ask me. No need to worry, my liege. If you are in danger, rest assured that I will save you before you know it, Gun said, patting my shoulder with one of his claws. Or you could, I don't know, take care of it from the start so I don't have to end up in danger to begin with. I snapped back. Enough of this feckless prattle. They come. The sea serpents had been biding their time, rocking their heads to and fro as they observed us, but now, they attacked in unison. Ah, damn it all. I wailed. Just as my familiars had predicted, I'd been put in a position where I had to fight, like it or not. I quickly pulled my mithril spear out from my item box and stuck a hand out at the same moment. Eat fireball, damn it. One of the sea serpents had set its sights on me and was already moving to strike, mouth wide open. I decided to feed it a fireball in exchange, and miracle of miracles, I actually managed to land a hit directly inside the monster's mouth. Less miraculously, it looked like my efforts had mildly annoyed it, at most. My one spell hadn't done anywhere close to enough damage to deal a fatal wound. Now it was the sea serpent's turn, apparently. It struck at me with a powerful hiss, and I just barely managed to dodge out of the way of its gaping maw. That was way too close, I said between gasping, heaving breaths. I'm sorry, but there's no way I can handle ARG, not again. I'd thought I had managed to dodge my way to safety, but the sea serpent proved me wrong by striking again without wasting a moment. I desperately hurled myself out of the line of fire, only for it to make yet another attack. The whole process repeated itself over and over until I was a coughing, hyperventilating mess. Didn't you say you were going to help if I ended up in trouble? I managed to spit out between hacking coughs. Dodging all those attacks had reduced my legs to quivering jelly, but if I didn't dredge up the stamina to keep moving, I was going to be snake feed. The sea serpent seemed to realize that I was on my last legs as well and redoubled its efforts without letting me catch a break. Arg, crap. I yelped. This time, I was a bit too slow. I didn't have fine enough control over my movements anymore. Dodging the sea serpent's attack was a lost cause. See how you like these? I screamed as I thrust my mithril spear out before me in pure desperation and turned away, unable to watch as the serpent bore down on me. A moment later, I felt a heavy sensation on the spear. A horrible, ear-splitting screech that seemed to come from right next to me came next, followed by a heavy thud as something landed on Sway's back. I timidly looked up. Wait. Seriously? And saw my own spear, embedded deeply into the sea serpent's eyeball. I mean deeply in there. The force of the monster's charge and the force with which I'd thrust the spear out had apparently worked in conjunction, burying a full half of the spear into its eye socket. I guess it must have pierced its brain, killing it instantly, which means... Yes. Oh my god, yes. I seriously just beat a sea serpent. Was it a fluke? Absolutely, but that didn't change the fact that I'd taken down a sea serpent, an S-ranked monster, single-handedly. Gun hadn't been kidding about there being droves of sea serpents in this stretch of ocean. They attacked us several more times after the engagement that Ark and I had participated in, but past that point, I was too mentally exhausted to take to the front line. Fel, Gan, Dora-chan, Sway, and Ark's members dealt with the remainder of the monsters on their own. Team Familiar's overall combat style was to bring sea serpents down with big, instantly fatal single attacks, while Ark tackled their foes using teamwork, winning after a series of coordinated attacks. One way or another, though, both were dealing with S-ranked monsters, seemingly without a hint of trouble. That was no surprise on my Familiar's part, of course, but I was really impressed with the display that the members of Ark were putting on. They'd seemed like they were on the verge of losing all self-confidence after seeing my Familiar's fight, and they'd started to sound really discouraged for a while there, but defeating that first sea serpent had apparently helped them regain a little faith in their abilities. By now, they were full of confidence and fighting at their best. And so my Familiars and Ark's members alike rode their wave of success, crushing one group of monsters after another. Sway collected each and every item the sea serpents dropped with its tentacles, and I stored them all in my item box on the spot. It felt like Sway barely had time to drop one item off before it found another to pick up, and I'd figured that if I didn't store them quickly, the resulting mountain would start slipping right back into the sea again before long. That would be a waste, so they could sit in my item box until we had the time to sort through them more carefully. The one fly in the ointment was that very little in the way of meat dropped, much to the gluttonous quartet's disappointment. I had a feeling that the prospect of eating sea serpent meat was the whole reason they'd been so enthusiastic to go on the attack in the first place. Long story short, my role on our voyage ended up becoming collecting and safekeeping all the sea serpent drops that Sway scooped up for us, and I spent most of the trip fully occupied by that task. It seems we have left the sea serpent's territory. TCH, already? Whatever, I guess. Don't be like that, Dora. I think we've had our fun already. We hunted lots and lots of them. Phew. It's finally over, I sighed. Can't say I ever expected to see that many S-ranked monsters show up one after another. Well, this is a dungeon, my liege, Gun said. According to him, these things just happened every once in a while in places like this. Meanwhile, as I was chatting with my Familiars, we did it. Gods, we really did it. Damn right we did. The 4 of us took down a sea serpent. You mean 5 sea serpents? S-ranked monsters. 5 of them. We're still real adventurers after all. The members of Ark had fully regained their self-confidence and were taking a moment to celebrate their success. They were tried-and-true A-ranked adventurers, so their abilities had never really been in question, but watching my Familiars fight had given them just a bit of an inferiority complex. That was their mistake, really. Comparing themselves to my outlandishly powerful squad of extreme outliers could never have ended well for them. In any case, I was glad to see them back in good spirits for a change. Hey, what do you think about stopping somewhere around here for the day? I suggested. A sound decision. I'd like to sample some sea serpent soon, after all, Gun said. Hold your horses. I countered. Ark did plenty of hunting today too, which means we have to split the spoils with them. We can't claim all the meat for ourselves if they want some of it. What? Fel barked. The meat is ours. I have laid claim to it. Moreover, we have no use for the skin, bones, and magic stones, Gun noted. I would far sooner take nourishing, delicious meat over such trifles. Yeah, what they said. The meat's ours. Hand it over. Meat. The gluttonous quartet were once again throwing the sort of fit that would make any normal adventuring party cry tears of blood if they heard it. Though of course, since Fell and Gun were speaking out loud, ARC's members really did hear their half of the exchange. Their smiles looked a little strained, to say the least. Okay, I'll talk to them and see what I can do, so just give me a minute, I said, then turned around with a shake of my head to negotiate with ARC. Sorry, my familiars keep going off like this. They can't help themselves when meat's on the line. If only they knew how much trouble that habit of theirs put me through. My familiars will never let anything tasty escape their grasp, that's for sure. Don't worry about it. We've been traveling with you long enough that we're used to it by now, Gadino said. Yeah, we get it. Your familiars only care about food, Gideon agreed. The skin, bones, and magic stones are trifles, eh? Speaking as adventurers, materials like those are worth a hell of a lot more to us than the meat, Sigvard noted. Gadino and Gideon nodded in vigorous agreement, so apparently they were all on the same page about that one. I'd like the meat. I've always wanted to try sea serpent, Theodora the gluttonous elf said, much to the horror of Gadino, Gideon, and Sigvard, who all shot her looks that screamed, "What the hell are you talking about?" Oh, no you don't, Theodora, Gadino said. What would you even do with meat like that? Right. A bunch of meat's not gonna get us anywhere, Gadino agreed. True. The only thing we could hope to get out of it is its sale price, Sigvard added with a sigh that Gadino and Gideon echoed. Not that it's any of my business, but do those three not consider eating the meat to be an option? We could eat it. Actually, I want to eat it, Theodora insisted, standing firm in the face of her party members' exasperation. Gadino let out another heavy sigh. Look, he said, just because we get our hands on some good meat doesn't mean we get to actually eat it. You've been in this business for long enough to know that. The boss is right, Theodora. Not like any of us have any idea how to cook it anyway, Gideon said. And don't try telling us you could do it. We all know you can't cook worth a damn, Sigvard added. In the men's minds, this was clearly an issue that had long since been settled. Judging by the way Theodora's eyes widened, however, it came as much more of a surprise to her. You mean even if we eat it, it wouldn't taste good? Oh, gods, you're serious. How are you realizing this now? You didn't join this party yesterday. You know full well that none of us know how to cook. I got the feeling that Gadino, Gideon, and Sigvard's exasperation with Theodora had finally peaked. I'd spent the whole exchange doing my best not to burst into laughter and took this as my chance to slide into the conversation and suggest that if I could take all of the sea serpent meat, I'd make them a nice meal with it in exchange. The members of ARC were all eager to agree to that proposal, especially Theodora, who I thought might never stop nodding for a minute there. Our initial agreement was that ARC would receive 3 skins, 3 skulls with intact fangs, and 6 magic stones. They'd only asked for 2 skins, 2 skulls, and 1 stone at first, but since they'd taken down 5 sea serpents on their own, I thought that was just too small of a share and talked them up to a slightly larger pile of loot, and now that we knew my party would be getting everything we wanted, I reopened negotiations and convinced them to take more. I mean, I guess it was more like I refused to let them say no than I negotiated them into it. My party could literally never have too much meat on hand, but all I could do with skins, skulls, and magic stones was sell them to the Adventurers Guild. I mean, I guess I could have brought back a skin or 2 to give to Lambert as souvenirs, but that was really it, and since I already had more money than I knew what to do with thanks to my familiars, having to deal with excess materials was nothing more than a hassle. Of course, even after I talked ARC's people into taking more materials, I still had enough left over that I'd have to take care of them eventually, one way or the other. That wasn't even starting on the other drops I'd picked up. Just considering how long it would take to sort through all of them once I got back home to Carolina was making me feel exhausted already. And while I was fretting over logistics, "It is settled, then. The meat shall be ours," Great. Now get cooking. It's been many a year since I last tasted sea serpent. I'm rather excited. Meat, meat, meaty meaty meat. I can't wait to try sea serpent for the first time. The gluttonous quartet and gluttonous elf's excited mutterings carried on endlessly as we searched for an island to bed down on for the night. The moment we made landfall, my familiars started kicking up a fuss about wanting to eat sea serpent right now. Oh, for the look, guys, I need time to decide what I'm even going to make with it first. Stop rushing me. What need is there for thought? There is only one dish suitable for sea serpent meat. Right. Goes without saying. Fel and Dora-chan gave each other a look, then smirked. Gun watched on, clearly confused. It goes without saying? What dish would that be? He asked. Karaj. Sway squealed in reply. Precisely. Sea serpent karaj is delectable indeed. You know it. That stuff was the best. I'd made sea serpent karaj for Fel, Dora-chan, and Sway back when we had been in the seaside town of Belind, and it seemed it had left quite an impression on them. Oh. Well, if all of you claim it's delicious, then it seems I have something to look forward to. In fact, I can hardly wait, Gun said with a beaming grin. I mean, yeah, sea serpent karaj's great. But, you know, we just had karaj last night, didn't we? Wouldn't it be boring to have the same thing for dinner 2 nights in a row? I know it was cockatrice karaj last night, but still. It will not. I could eat karaj every night and not tire of it in the least. For sure. That stuff's so tasty, I'd never get bored of it. Sway would eat karaj every day too. Every day? Nope, not happening. Maybe you wouldn't get sick of it, but I sure would, I said with a strained laugh. Karaj made with a different meat will surely have an entirely different flavor. I must know what karaj made from sea serpent tastes like, especially since the others claim it's so delicious. I beg of you, my liege, Gun said, his expression deathly serious as he grabbed my shoulders firmly with his forelimbs. Desperate much, old man Gun? And wait. Oh ouch. Eche, Gun, that hurts. You're squeezing way too hard. Oh. My apologies. It was but a lapse of control, Gun said. So, my liege, will you prepare the dish for me? Yes. Fine. I get it. You want karaj, it's all yours. I just couldn't take the pressure of Gun's expectations and finally folded. We'd be having karaj for dinner 2 nights in a row after all. I brought my magic stove out from my item box and started preparing to cook. My usual karaj routine was to season some of the meat with a soy sauce base and the rest with plain salt, but since I'd made that sort of karaj the day before, I figured I'd at least shake things up a little in the seasoning department. My familiars had made it clear that they'd never get tired of karaj, sure, but Ark would be eating with us too, and I would sure as heck get sick of it before long. I just wasn't the sort of person who could eat the same thing night after night and not get bored. As such, I decided to make karaj flavored with the go-to seasonings as well as a curry flavored batch, a yuzu chili batch, and a miso batch. To start, I once again ducked down behind my magic stove so Ark's members wouldn't see me and opened up my online supermarket. I didn't have curry powder or yuzu chili paste on hand, but after picking those up, I had everything I needed to get to work frying up a mountain of kara. First, of course, I had to prepare the sea serpent meat by chopping it up into roughly bite-sized pieces. I began working on the usual 2 flavors after that, which meant preparing 2 sauces, one with soy sauce as its base and the other salt, then poured the sauces into extra-large plastic bags along with the meat, where it would sit and marinate before I fried it. The curry-flavored karaj would actually use the same soy marinade as the soy sauce karaj, the only difference was that I would be mixing curry powder into the starch I'd coat it in before frying, so I made an extra batch of the soy-marinated meat, flavored slightly less strongly than the first one. The yuzu chili karaj seasoning mixture consisted of yuzu chili paste, granulated chicken bouillon, sake, grated garlic, and grated ginger. The miso karaj mixture, meanwhile, had miso, sake, mirin, soy sauce, grated garlic, and grated ginger in it. I seasoned an equal amount of meat with those mixtures as I had with the usual flavors, of course, sealing so many of each kind in their own extra large plastic bags. I actually used up my whole remaining stock of them. I'll have to buy some more of those soon. With all of that finished, I had reached the stage in the recipe where all I had to do was sit back and wait for the meat to marinate. I waited for some time, but eventually, I just couldn't take it anymore and had to say something. "So, can I help you?" I asked my audience. Fel, Gan, Dora-chan, Sway, and Theodora the gluttonous elf were all gathered up around my magic stove, watching my every movement with bated breath. "Is it finished yet?" I'm terribly eager to try it. Also, we're starving. Sway's so hungry. Theodora didn't say a word, but the look of excitement on her face spoke volumes. I sighed. "Listen, cooking is a process, okay? And part of the process for courage is letting the meat sit and take on flavor for a while. That means you have to wait, or it doesn't turn out as tasty in the end. Honestly, you're not helping anyone by being this impatient. Giving me that look isn't gonna make the sea serpent marinate any faster. What you are doing is making me feel really pressured, so give someone else that starving puppy-dog stare, please." The gluttonous quartet and gluttonous elf weren't going to have much of a show to watch, unfortunately. At this stage, all that I had to do was get the frying oil ready and prepare the starch I'd coat the meat in, with a separate bowl of starch that had curry powder in it for the curry-flavored courage. After that, it was just me, my audience, and all the pressure they were putting on me to hurry up and cook already. Okay, that's probably long enough. Time to get frying. I brought the marinated sea serpent meat out in batches, coating it in starch and then frying it straight away. The gluttonous quartet and elf watched on all the while, apparently beside themselves with anticipation. It wasn't long before the irresistible, hunger-inducing aroma of courage began to waft across the campsite, and my spectators started drooling as they stared at the rapidly growing pile of freshly fried meat. I held back a chuckle, then offered them a few pieces, just to start. "Careful. They're as fresh as they can get, so they're really hot," I cautioned. Hunger was clearly a bigger danger than heat as far as they were concerned, though, and they happily dug in without wasting a moment. "Ah, yes. Delicious. Oh, now this is something indeed. Exquisite. Tastes kinda different than usual, but not in a bad way. This stuff's good as hell. It's so yummy." MH, Theodora huffed, too busy trying to cool down food she'd already bitten into to give a coherent review. Judging by the looks on their faces, all 5 of them were as happy as they could be to finally taste their long-awaited sea serpent courage. The fact that a certain gluttonous elf was blending in so seamlessly with the gluttonous quartet was something I had slightly more mixed feelings about, of course. "Here. I made some for you too," I said, bringing a helping over to Gadino and the others as well. "Oh, thank you," Gadino said. "And while you're over here, let me say sorry Theodora keeps harassing you like this." "Thanks, Mukouda. And yeah, she's a handful, all right," Gideon agreed. "The food's always appreciated." As for her, most elves tend to be pretty whimsical when it comes to food, but Theodora's a cut above the rest of them. "Sorry you have to deal with her." The 3 of them looked equal parts amused and horrified as they watched Theodora chowing down alongside my familiars, a fork in each hand. "Well, it sounds like she really was just that excited to try sea serpent meat," I replied. "Oh, and while we're on the subject, sorry for serving the same dish 2 nights in a row. My familiars really wanted to have sea serpent courage and strong-armed me into it." "Oh, no, don't apologize. This fried stuff, courage, you said, is incredible. No complaints here," Gadino said. "I'll second that. It's incredibly good," Gideon agreed. True. And I could hardly imagine a food that pairs better with a stiff drink," Sigvard added. "I see what you're doing there, Sigvard, but no, we're not drinking tonight. I require seconds. And with more of the usual flavors. For me as well. Though I'll have extra of the ones with a slight bit of spice to them. Gimme extras of all the new ones." Sway wants lots more of all of them. Coming right up." I headed right back to the stove and started frying away, stealing a piece or two for myself here and there as I cooked. The yuzu chili and miso karaage were both fantastic, and while the curry ones were pretty good too, I realized I should have gone a bit harder on the curry powder. Can't say I've ever eaten sea serpent meat before. It's really tasty, no two ways about it, Gadino said off to the side. Well, of course it is. How could meat like this not be? Gideon replied. Not to mention the fact that Mukouda's the one who cooked it. No way he'd serve us a meal that's not good. Fair point, Sigvard said with a nod. The ones with a spicy kick in particular are really something. I just know they'd be even better with a nice flagon of booze. Oh, don't you start. Are you forgetting that we're in a dungeon? Right. Be reasonable, Sigvard. The three of them kept stealing glances at me all throughout their exchange. I had to admit, the yuzu chili karaage really was delicious, and a beer would have made it even better, no doubt about it. I'm not bringing any booze out tonight, though, no matter how many hints you drop, pleading glances aren't going to help either. We have a dungeon to crawl tomorrow, after all, and we can't be doing it hungover. Oh, and while I'm complaining, could I please take a break, already? I've been frying this whole time. I wanna sit down and eat, already.